The Lion King from 1994 follows Simba, a young lion prince, as he navigates the journey from carefree youth to responsible leader, confronting personal loss, moral responsibility, and relational challenges within the Pride Lands. The narrative explores themes of identity, ethical growth, relational intelligence, resilience, courage, and the interplay between destiny and personal choice. Simba embodies adaptive problem-solving, moral discernment, emotional growth, and relational insight, while supporting characters such as Mufasa, Nala, Timon, and Pumbaa provide mentorship, guidance, and relational scaffolding. The story illustrates that effective heroism, responsible leadership, and personal development require integrating cognitive skill, ethical reflection, and relational competence in dynamic and morally complex environments. The plot intensifies when Simba's father, Mufasa, is tragically killed in a plot orchestrated by his uncle Scar, forcing Simba into exile and compelling him to confront grief, guilt, and the ethical and relational consequences of leadership. This pivotal event creates both immediate and long-term stakes, challenging Simba to balance personal healing with relational responsibility, ethical reflection, and strategic action to ultimately reclaim his position as king. The narrative emphasizes that heroism and personal growth arise from integrating intellect, ethical discernment, and relational awareness while navigating competing moral, social, and operational demands. Relational dynamics are central to character development and thematic depth. Simba's interactions with Nala, Timon, Pumbaa, Rafiki, and his father's spirit highlight the significance of trust, mentorship, empathy, and cooperation in achieving ethical and operational objectives. These relationships provide moral guidance and practical support, demonstrating that relational intelligence enhances effective decision-making, ethical reasoning, and adaptive problem-solving. The narrative underscores that relational competence amplifies moral clarity, cognitive flexibility, and resilience, showing that heroism and personal growth are inseparable from relational awareness and empathy. Scar functions as the primary antagonist, representing unethical ambition, manipulation, and relational exploitation, generating both practical and moral threats. His actions highlight the dangers of power pursued without ethical reflection or relational awareness, creating high-stakes challenges that demand strategic thinking, moral discernment, and relational coordination. The contrast between Scar's self-serving approach and Simba's emerging ethical and relational maturity emphasizes that effective leadership and heroism require integrating cognitive skill, moral judgment, and interpersonal competence to confront both immediate and systemic threats. Action, strategy, and operational sequences, including battles, territorial disputes, and maneuvers to reclaim the Pride Lands, blend cognitive reasoning, ethical reflection, and relational coordination. Simba's adaptive thinking and relational insight illustrate the integration of intellect, moral discernment, and relational competence, emphasizing that heroism and leadership are multidimensional processes. These sequences reinforce themes of courage, adaptive thinking, ethical responsibility, and relational awareness as essential components of personal growth, operational success, and societal leadership. Psychological and ethical dimensions are explored through Simba's journey of self-discovery, his confrontation with guilt, fear, and moral responsibility, and his evolving understanding of leadership and relational duty. Mentors such as Mufasa's spirit and Rafiki guide him in ethical reflection, relational awareness, and strategic decision-making, while allies like Nala, Timon, and Pumbaa support his relational and operational growth. Scar's antagonism serves as a foil, illustrating the consequences of unethical ambition and relational manipulation. The narrative demonstrates that personal growth, ethical courage, and relational competence are inseparable from effective decision-making and responsible leadership. Themes of empowerment, ethical leadership, relational trust, personal growth, and resilience are central to the story. Simba's transformation from a guilt-ridden exile to a confident, ethically grounded, and relationally aware king exemplifies the transformative potential of integrating cognitive skill, moral reflection, and relational intelligence. Supporting characters reinforce the value of collaboration, ethical guidance, and relational trust in achieving both personal and societal objectives. The narrative emphasizes that true heroism, leadership, and personal growth are defined not solely by skill or ambition, but by the ability to act ethically, maintain relational harmony, and navigate complex environments with moral clarity and relational insight. The climax integrates cognitive, ethical, and relational threads as Simba confronts Scar, reclaims the Pride Lands, and restores ethical and relational equilibrium. Resolution requires strategic foresight, ethical discernment, relational coordination, and adaptive action, illustrating that multidimensional heroism emerges from harmonizing intellect, morality, and interpersonal competence. The narrative concludes with a synthesis of courage, relational awareness, ethical clarity, and personal growth, demonstrating that effective agency involves balancing individual mastery, moral responsibility, and relational engagement to achieve meaningful and enduring outcomes. Cinematography, visual design, and musical composition enhance narrative immersion, thematic resonance, and emotional impact. Expressive character animation, visually dynamic landscapes, and memorable action sequences are rendered with clarity and aesthetic richness, while musical scoring accentuates relational, ethical, and emotional stakes. Technical execution supports narrative and thematic exploration, ensuring that visual and auditory spectacle complements cognitive, ethical, and relational dimensions rather than serving solely as entertainment. The integration of visual, auditory, and narrative elements highlights the multidimensional nature of heroism, ethical agency, and relational intelligence. Ultimately, The Lion King, 1994, presents a narrative in which cognitive skill, ethical reasoning, relational intelligence, and adaptive action converge within morally, operationally, and socially complex environments. The film emphasizes that mastery, heroism, and responsible leadership arise from integrating intellect, moral clarity, emotional insight, and relational competence. By blending action, ethical inquiry, psychological exploration, and relational complexity with emotional resonance, The Lion King reinforces the appeal of protagonists who harmonize skill, morality, and relational awareness to navigate high-stakes, multifaceted, and morally nuanced scenarios, illustrating that true heroism requires the alignment of personal growth, ethical responsibility, and relational competence in transformative and socially complex contexts.